Hello everyone! In this tutorial we will see what time.deltaTime is in Unity and how to use it. This beginner-friendly tutorial is perfect for those who are new to scripting in C# within Unity, as the topic is fundamental and deserves to be well understood, since you will encounter it in many scripts and tutorials. The tutorial was created using Unity 2022, but time.deltaTime has been around for several versions of the software and will likely continue to be in the future. Before we go on, I remind you that, as it happens with most of my tutorials, the text version of this video tutorial is available for free download at the link provided in the description. Time.deltaTime is a variable that represents the time elapsed in seconds between the last frame and the current frame, or, if you prefer, the time it took to complete the previous frame. It is used to make movements and animations frame rate independent, usually by multiplying an object's speed in units per second by time.deltaTime in each frame. This way, the speed per frame will vary based on the frame rate, ensuring the same speed on devices with different performance levels. Let's see a practical example of what I just described, with a very simple case, the movement of an object along an axis at a constant speed. Insert an object into the scene, framing the scene from above with an isometric view. Give the object a C# script, calling it, for example, movement. Then create a vector tree to indicate a displacement of 1 unit, which we want to cover in 1 second. Private vector tree OBVelocity equals new vector tree 0, 0, 1. We know that update is called at each frame, however, we do not know how many frames per second the game will run, as this varies based on several parameters. If our frame rate were consistently 50 frames per second, we could modify OBVelocity to 0.02, moving 0.02 units with each call to update, and therefore each frame, resulting in a displacement of 1 unit per second. Since we don't have this possibility, in update we will write transform.position plus equals OBVelocity multiplied by time.deltaTime. Save the script, return to the Unity editor and observe the result. The object moves linearly, maintaining a speed of 1 unit of the scene per second. In conclusion, to move an object at a certain speed expressed as scene units per second, set this speed in a variable and, inside the update function, multiply it by time.deltaTime, as I showed you earlier. Now, let's look at another example. In the scene I'm using now, the main camera has been given a movement script that detects the arrow key presses, using input.getAxis for horizontal and vertical. The values of horizontal and vertical range from -1 to 1 for both. So if I directly multiplied these values by time.deltaTime in the update function of the script, I would achieve a displacement of 1 unit in the scene per second, but this solution does not provide the ability to adjust the speed. To solve this problem, the simplest thing to do is define a private variable with the serialized modifier, which can be seen and modified in the inspector when testing the game in the editor. In the example I'm showing you on video, this variable is called speed, and initially has a value of 12. In the update function, the movement is managed through controller.move, because the character is associated with character controller component that is moved using the move function. The function is called with a rather long parameter, divided into 2 parts. In the first part, the displacement along the x and z axis is calculated based on the user's input, stored in the move variable, which is a vector tree. In the second part, the force of gravity is calculated when a jump is performed. Time.deltaTime is used both in the calculation of movement along the axis and in the vertical movement due to gravity, but we will ignore the second part, which would require a longer discussion, and focus on the first. The movement vector move is multiplied by time.delta_time, as seen with the cube in the first example, but it is also multiplied by the float variable speed. I then switch to the Unity editor and start the game to show you how it is possible to change the character's movement speed by modifying in real time the value of the speed parameter in the script tab. This way, it is possible to calibrate the speed for the start of the game. Since this speed is multiplied by time.delta_time, we know it will be the same on various devices, regardless of the execution frame rate. Since speed is a variable in the code, it will also be possible to modify it during the game, based on certain events. For example, the player might drink a potion that allows them to move at twice the speed, or, on the contrary, to proceed more slowly than usual. The key point is that this speed will be consistent across different devices, as it is independent of the frame rate, thanks to time.delta_time. In conclusion, in this video we have seen two simple examples of using time.delta_time. Soon I will be publishing a video about rotation using Slurp, where time.delta_time will be employed to achieve constant speed rotations, regardless of the frame rate. That's all for this tutorial. See you soon!